So, part two of this, getting back to it. I need to break these videos up because I'm doing different things while these videos are playing. Where I left off at is I want to say about Adam and Eve in the garden. How that relates to marriages in heaven. Now, in heaven, there will be no marriage nor given in marriage, says Matthew chapter 19. Does that actually mean that God will remove sexual relations between a man and a wife? Does that mean that God will not practice marriage for men and women in the kingdom of heaven? Will be so holy that we have vaginas and penises and no sex and no marriage? I don't think that's the way it's going to be. I believe that we're going to start all over again in the kingdom of heaven, and we are going to understand that our relationship with God, okay, and our new bodies in that, we start all over from scratch. We start all over a new beginning, okay? And I do believe that you will know. I believe that in order for you and your wife to be together in the next life, I really believe you have to be outstandingly in love. You have to be outstandingly righteous. Or it's possible that God might just make everything new because everything is new. It's a different world, a different time, a different place. You know, like we always say that phrase, maybe in another life we would be, or we would not be, or it wouldn't have to be this way, or it would be this way. And that's true in the kingdom of heaven. And I don't believe that there won't be sex. I don't believe that there won't be marriage in the kingdom of heaven. However, there won't be, like the scripture says, no marriage, no weddings, or given in marriage. And when a couple's together, you will be together. But I do believe that you'll be so confident and fulfilled. And a secular person said that to me one time. You'll be so fulfilled that there's nothing that your spouse can do. And it won't be, one thing for sure, he or she won't be committing adultery. But there's nothing outside of that, because they won't do that and to begin with. It just won't be part of our, kingdom of heaven makeup. We just don't do that, because we don't need sex. But sex will be the most amazing thing that we do outside of worshiping God. And I really believe that with all my heart. And I do believe that there will be couples in the kingdom of heaven. But I believe that God will give you, I believe that every man may have a spouse. Okay, I believe that. Every man may have a spouse. And, there's things that I could add on and say what I think about the fact that there's going to be either more women going to heaven than men, or more men going to heaven than women. That's just the way it is. And there's going to be more whites going to heaven than blacks, or more blacks going to heaven than, there's going to be, before Christ comes back, who knows? The majority of the Middle East might be Christian. They might be saved. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But all the numbers are going to be all over the place, and it's not going to matter. And it's not going to matter because we are God's people, and God is going to give us whatever is lacking. Whatever did not make it into the kingdom of heaven, I believe will be either created there, or there'll be something to make up for it not being there. But, I do believe that it would be really weird for God not to give us husbands and wives in the kingdom of heaven. That would be like punishment for us, you know. It would be like a punishment for us not being perfectly, perfect with our marriages and our sexuality down here on earth. Hold on a second. But I do believe that there will be Adam and Eve's in heaven. There was no wedding when Adam and Eve got married in the Garden of Eden. The minute Adam was produced, Adam said, "This is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh." There was no wedding. She was made specifically for Adam, and I believe that in the kingdom of heaven, I believe we will be starting all over just like that. We will have, God will be the matchmaker, and he will design wives and husbands for us, okay? He will put us with who he wants to put us with. And there will not be no divorce. Okay? There'll just be like times that you're away from your spouse, and when your spouse, gets that way where she needs that love, that needs that romance or whatever, you're going to be there. And I also believe that there's just things you don't do in the kingdom of heaven, because no one's going to get up on the cross and die for you all over again, okay, and forgive you of your sins all over again. I think if you're able to sin in the kingdom of heaven, I believe you will just die, especially if you're able to do outstanding willful sins. If God leaves that choice open for you, which I do believe there will be a little wee bit of free will, a lot less than what we have, way a lot less than what we have here. But there will be a little bit of free will, because we're not robots, and we're not robots in the kingdom of heaven either. And I do believe that what's going to keep us in line is that, like it says in the book of Ecclesiastes, why men sin and their hearts are set to do evil, because you have to believe that you'll be punished. It doesn't just happen. But I believe in the kingdom of heaven, if you're crazy enough to sin like you still live here on earth, you're crazy enough to just die, be gone. I got to find you another husband. I don't know what this brother was thinking. I got to find you a new one. So stand by. Let me work on something. Your package will come in the mail. I'm just joking. But, I do believe that you won't get to do anything that is worth, you won't be able, basically, to do anything that is worth a divorce or anything in the kingdom of heaven. But while we're here on earth, and this is why Jesus said there will be no marriages or given in marriage in heaven. What he's saying is you don't get to choose your spouse when he says there is no marriages or given in marriage in heaven, because now here on earth we go out, and our number one thing to do is go out and see who's cute and who's sexy and who's got that vibe, and we have that vibe for them, and we got this chemistry, and the sexual chemistry is just amazing, and it's just crazy, mad, crazy, mind-blowing, mind-boggling sexual chemistry. And that sexual chemistry lasted for so many years until somebody got a divorce. It was just two people that were soulmates, that were madly in love, and then, and something happened. Your spouse ends up in prison. Okay? And even though you waited for him to get out of prison, it was never the same after that. You loved him enough to wait for him to get out of prison. And he wants to believe you were faithful to him while he was in prison all that time, but it'll never be the same as it was. And there's always things. It's the children. It's the job. It's if you and your wife, are, just trying to love each other and you're romantically involved and just have this great chemistry together, and a man can come out of nowhere and just target your wife, stalk her and all like that. You could end up in prison, or a man could come in and just, now your wife is mad at you because you're not handling adversity properly. This man's coming in out of nowhere. He's trying to, bust your balls about your wife because he's jealous that you got a pretty wife or whatever, And these are things that ain't going to happen in the kingdom of heaven. Because I believe that, I had a dream about this too. I had a dream that I had a spouse, a lovely little lady, okay? And when I would get mad at her, she would laugh at me. And I had a friend. Now, here on earth, I would never do this. But I had a friend. He was an older man. He was kind of older. But I had a man that was at my house talking to my wife. Now, here on earth, I catch a man, I walk in and catch a man in there talking to my wife. I don't care if he's my best friend in the whole world. Unless I called him on the phone and said, I told her to let you in and fix you a cup of Kool-Aid and you're going to make yourself comfortable and I'll be there, I'll be there as fast as I can. Behave yourself, okay? Unless I do that, if I walk in and catch another man sitting in my living room, talking to my wife when I get home, my wife says, oh, this is so-and-so and so-and-so. And first thing I'm going to say, you got your stuff in the car, I'll unpack it for you. I'll put it in your new room for you. I'll put it in you and her's room because it ain't me and her room no more. It's you and her's room. You don't invite men into my house without my permission. And vice versa. I don't tolerate no woman trying to get all buddy-buddy with me like I'm not a man, she's not the opposite sex. I remember a gay girl thought that because she was gay that she could come in my house when my wife wasn't home and use the phone and do whatever she needed to do in my house. And I told her, I says, no, that's inappropriate. And she was like, dude, I'm gay. I says, you still a woman. And she just looked at me like, I am? Yeah. Reality set in. Like, it don't matter. You still got a vagina. Anything can happen if the Lord don't stop us. If you get the urge all of a sudden, or I get the urge all of a sudden. It's the image. It's not so much that I'm going to do something with a gay girl because I want to know what it's like, or something like that. It's the fact that there's an image that you have to portray when you're married. And that image is, this is my husband, this is my wife. There is no confusion on who's got whose back. There is no confusion on who's married to who. I remember years ago, back when I was married, me and some friends went somewhere with me and my wife, or me and my wife went somewhere with me and my friends, and my wife was a little angry with me, and so she kept lagging behind instead of keeping up. And I'm a little wee bit shorter than my wife, and I'm also a little bit younger looking than what I really am. At least I was back then, anyway. And they thought that my friend was my wife's husband because he's lagging behind and she's lagging behind, and I got a concert to reach. Her and I got a concert to reach, but she a little mad at me, so she just dragging her feet. And when we got up to get our seats before the concert, the usher sat him next to my wife, and he had to explain to the guys, to the lady ushering us, no, this is her husband. We sit behind them, and and then one day a lady on a bus, because another time my wife was being mad, and I had all the kids in the seat with me, and she ain't looking in the mirrors, she don't understand. And so the woman said something to me about something, I forget what it was, the woman driving the bus. And I explained to her that, I'm their dad, and this is my wife, And I'm thinking, what's the problem? You saw us all get on the bus together, And for some reason, she felt like she was busted, and she felt that she did a really bad disservice. I apologize. I forget what it was that she goofed up on, but not only did she goof up on, who's with who, that we all got on the bus together as a family, but she also goofed up on accusing me of something that I didn't do or that I wasn't doing. And when I told her that this is what's going on, these are my children, this is my wife, and I think one of my kids was acting up or something, and I got loud with her or whatever. So when I explained to the lady, these are my kids, I forget what it was. I apologize. I forget what it was that she said. And when I told her, no, this is my wife, and these are my kids, they're going to sit over here with me, and she can sit there in the front, and they're going to sit over here with me, but we're together. And she said, well, you don't act like you're together. You don't act like a husband. And I'm thinking, what's that supposed to mean? You know what I mean? She wanted to sit there when she knows she should sit over here. You're going to, But, there's so much that you can go through as married couples in this life. And I don't think we need to destroy marriage and sex so that we don't go through it in the next life. I think if we're really righteous before God, no matter what we do here in the name of trying to keep up with God and do His will, even in the midst of divorce, even in the midst of, people act like divorce is the end of the world. And I really believe that the reason why I'm not with a woman right now, because see, this is what happened. My wife and I, we split up, and this time she didn't kick me out, I left. She had a habit of kicking me out of my own house, which I didn't have to let her do that, but I figure, if you're going to fight with me all day to the point to where somebody might have to call the cops, I'll just leave. So I would go night after night, at least once every week. End up walking in town. You couldn't pay me to do that today. Okay? I would never walk all the way down Greensburg Road into the town part of, I would never do that today. That's a long walk. I was young. You won't get me. We'll be fighting all night because, I'm staying home. I'm not going to walk out in the cold like I used to. But I used to get mad at her for being mad at me, and I'd walk out in the cold. And I'd walk all the way into town if the car wasn't running or something like that. If I touched that car, she really thought I was like, what, trying to escape Pennsylvania? Like, where do you think I'm going to go? You think I'm going to just leave and go to Kentucky? Where do you think I'm going to go, woman? But she act like, if he takes the car, oh God, he's going forever. No, okay, I'll walk. Since you want me out of the house, but you don't want me to drive my own car. It's my car. But okay, I walked, and it always made her stop because when I would leave and get mad and leave and walk away, that would tamper with her security. And she didn't hook up with me to be alone at home at night. She could have stayed with her ex, if she wanted to do that. So she would forgive me. And she got sick and tired of me leaving and letting her cool off, and then I would come home. Later on in our marriage, I would go take a drive a lot of times, especially if she was sleeping. I'd go take a drive, and there's something about taking a car that just really freaked her out. If I walked, she didn't care. Well, sometimes she did, but a lot of times she didn't. He'll get home when he get home. But if I took the car, she paced back and forth until I got home, waiting for me to get home. And a lot of times, if I just didn't say nothing to her, she would turn around and apologize with hugs and kisses and make up sex and all that stuff. But to the most part, we just were not compatible. Everything was, we'll fix it with sex. And that was the way our marriage worked. And whenever sex was satisfied, and we put our clothes back on, or took our shower and put our clothes back on, and or went and had dinner or whatever, we were back to phase one of her wearing the pants in the family, and I'm her little boy toy or whatever. They don't get to say nothing. He just gets to he gets to sit there and shut up until she decides that she needs me to act like a man. And that got old with me after a while, and I couldn't take it, and I felt like there was no change. We went through marriage counseling like 3 or 4 times. And she would argue with the marriage counselors, okay? And they figure, D-Roy, well, hold on, maybe D-Roy's the fault, because D-Roy's the one that's, he trying to be a better person. Okay, well, that's my job, to try to be a better person. I'm the husband. I'm not supposed to be mouthing off and acting crazy like hers. And I'm not allowed to express, even in counseling, I'm not allowed to express my feelings the way she is. When I did, it went crazy. It just went crazy. And then she would say stuff, and it's always like, hating on Donald Trump kind of thing. Like that is just simply not true. That is not what's going on, Mr. Counselor. She lying. She tripping, And one day the counselors came over the house. The last counselors came over. And they were associate pastor friends of mine. And man and wife couple. And I had my stuff packed. And I told them, I said, look, I hate to waste your time. And I heard her downstairs. I was willing to call my landlord and say, you know what, give me another day to move in. But I had my stuff packed. And I'm upstairs and I'm listening to her. So we're going to start with you, Miss Cruz. How has your week been? And blah, blah, blah. And what's going on with D-Roy? And blah, 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 blah. And everything she said was like, what planet do you think you're on? What? She was lying back then like Kamala Harris lies now. And I'm like, this is, no. So after listening for a while, they were waiting for me to come down, and I went down, I sat down, and she's still talking. It's my turn to talk. My turn. But they want me to sit there because they want to see my reaction. I sat there, and I sat there very cordially, and I just, waited, and okay, I'm trying to figure out where do I start in debunking what she's saying, And finally, I went back upstairs for a minute to use the restroom or whatever, and I hear her down there. And I came back down there and I says, you know what? I'm sorry for wasting your time, okay? But I've already got my stuff packed to move out tomorrow. And they looked at me like, oh, I'm the bad link because I moved out. But yet, the cops coming over was it for me. The cops came over. I wasn't even home. Okay? She's sitting there calling cops saying I'm doing this, doing that. I'm not even home. So I come home, and she starts, and I started with her. I started yelling right back at her. And next thing you know, she had already called the cops before I even got home. Called the cops for what? We weren't even fighting. But she knew she wanted to fight with me about something, and she knew that I was going to call her, some names, that shouldn't be in the book. Okay? So she called the cops ahead of time. Because she knew I was to the point where I'm done. Okay? And so after that, I went and spent the night in a jail cell. Is there a friend we can take you to or something? I said, no. Put me in a jail cell. So I spent the night in a jail cell, because she wanted to act like, and that was it for me. That was it. Lord, I love you, Jesus. I love you with all my heart, and I'm trying to persevere and be faithful in my marriage, and I'm trying to, I don't believe in divorce either, Lord God, but this will never happen again. That was it for me. And so when the counselor came, because I wanted them to come, she didn't care if they came. And I spent, every time we asked the counselor to come, I checked myself first. I wanted to make sure I was doing the right thing. And when this couple that watched me pack my stuff and walk out that door, this couple knew who was the bad link, because they talked to her. They listened to her. And she was able to get it all out without me interrupting. What I'm saying here is, marriage and divorce go together. Now what happened was, I left, and I had a friend who was, that I was taking to church with me. He broke up with his girlfriend. And I personally believe, she laughed at me, and she's like, well, when I told her, I said, you forgot that you told me, you forgot that you spent the weekend in, what was it, Florida? I think it was Florida. You spent a week in Florida with this dude at his house. You're going to tell me you spent the whole week at his house and you didn't sleep with him? I refuse to believe that. Okay? Then, the day that she told me she wanted a divorce, because I was in no hurry to come home this time. All the other times, it's supposedly her kicking me out, but now I left on my own. I quit. I walked out. And, I just wanted to pay my child support and have my custody rights. I knew this was going to cost me, but I couldn't take it no more. I just couldn't do it no more. So I knew I was going to get bombed with child support. I knew, and so she went to lying to everybody, trying to turn the church against me about child support and all this kind of stuff. And all like this. Meanwhile, she got boyfriends and boyfriends out of the hat. Now, I'm a born-again Christian. I have not had sex since her and I split up. She was the last person that I had sex with. Okay? She, not only did she go spend a week in Florida with some dude before the the divorce was final, but she also came home, and my kids were telling me about her new boyfriend. We just signed the papers yesterday. So what, were these guys on the side waiting, or what's going on here? Okay? What bothers me about my divorce is, if I had known that her relationship with God was this much of a lie, and that her love and respect for me was this easy to end, in this much of a lie, I would have never married her. But because she made that switch, which I'm getting paid well because she had a common law boyfriend. She's with him 18 years, she claimed. 18 years. And she had 2 kids. Her and her 2 kids moved in with me just a few doors down the road. And the property, he owned it. It was his property. And me and her are living together, fornicating and cheating on his property. So I got paid very well by the way she treated me. She didn't trust me. She didn't believe in me. Yeah, how do you do all that and then all of a sudden, well, I'm a born again Christian, I repented. You have to be, the respectful, submissive wife. She wasn't buying it. Okay? You just another, just another horny bastard that has less experience on the street than the boyfriends before you. And my 18 years relationship common law ex. So, why should, now all the time her and I worked together, it was that one thing that ruined everything. She came over, she was half drunk, and I said no. And then I thought, damn, I'm never going to get, I'm just going to be lonely all my life. I'm never going to meet a woman again. I'm never going to, at least this woman, wanted to touch it. At least this woman wanted to get a little freak on, How long I got to wait for the Lord to bless me with a wife? How long I got to bless the Lord to, bless me with great dates, to help me to meet nice women again? And what happened was, I called her back and said yes. And that's when all hell broke loose. That's when the devil had a foothold. And she didn't give me a chance to say, hey, why don't you move in with me? Okay? I'm talking to her on the phone and she's at the door with her stuff packed. And I said, well, wait, what about your ex? We talked about it. We agreed. We need to go our separate ways. He knows about me and you and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God. And he did come over there with a chain later on about something stupid. And he did come over there with a gun in his pocket one day. God has blessed me to be alive. I'm lucky to be alive. But, I've never been so stupid. I know you're thinking, man, you stupid. You did a stupid thing. I did. But my thing about marriage and divorce is I don't feel guilty for my divorce to my ex. And I did leave it up to her to get the divorce, or we're either you're getting this divorce or we're going to work this out. Now, the Bible says that he that leaves his wife causes her to commit adultery. I don't believe I caused her to commit adultery. I believe that adultery was always in her, and when it came time for her to take the blame for what was going on in our marriage, for her to step up and be a woman about it, and be a Christian woman about it, she fumbled and failed. And it was easy because she never really been born again. It was easy for her to just go back to her old ways that she was in. That's how we met. I didn't meet her in church. I wish. And if I had met her in church, I probably would have said, well, you want to go on a date next week? We can go to this place, and I would have took her to her front door and drove off. Okay? It wouldn't have been. But she came over there half drunk, to my trailer with her blouse open, and it was like, okay. And I called her back and I says, okay, maybe I do want you to spend some time with me. Come over. You sure? Yeah. I'm like, oh, why did I tell her that? You know, and boom. And to this day, I don't look at, you know, us as we did this crime of divorce. I look at us as two people that knew better. And because we knew better and we didn't do the right thing, we sinned when we knew better. Divorce was the outcome. Okay? I had no intention on ever asking this woman out or intention on, you know, maybe an intention on talking to her, and then maybe later on down the road asking her out. But she was telling all my friends that, oh, D-Ray, you know, he's a Christian. He ain't got laid in a long time. I'm a born-again Christian. I'm not supposed to get laid until a long time. I'm not supposed to get laid till I get married. That's for my wedding day. But they insisted, and she insisted, that, oh, he fresh meat. He fresh. He good old Christian boy. He fresh. And they took advantage of me. And I feel that, you know, she took advantage of me and I took advantage of her because I should have been man enough to say no. And when I said no, I mean no. And I should have let her walk out of my trailer and see her in work tomorrow or after the weekend's over, like the little trick that she was trying to be. And I knew, you know, like, we carpool together, me, her, and her ex, and our other friends, we carpool together. And I felt that she's probably not going to want to carpool with me, you know, after this. And she's going, and how do I look at this woman at work every day, knowing that we almost slept together? You know? But, you know, fornication is a very delicious thing. And when we got together and, you know, we were working together every day, and it was more pleasant when we got out of that trailer and we moved, you know, down the road into another neighborhood, into another district of the same community. We moved down the road. We had our own place. I'm paying for a house. You know, I'm paying rent to own this house. And, you know, her and I, we would work midnight together, and, you know, the sex was incredible, you know, having sex to help us sleep so we can get up and, you know, do our job and, you know, get up and work midnight. And we would get up, like, you know, and we would, like, every other night we would go to Eaton Park together and sit in Eaton Park together. It was a date. We would go sit in Eaton Park together. A lot of times we had to get it to go and come back. But a lot of times we would leave early enough. If we were slow enough at work, we would leave a little bit early so that we would have enough time to sit inside and eat and enjoy ourselves. And that's about the end of it, though. That's about as romantic as it got. And then, and even in the midst of that, there was a lot of, you know, but the day that she told me that I'm not a man of God, the day that she told me that anybody can do what I do, I'm nobody special, I'm not a man of God, you know what I mean, and I'm all these things, and I'm thinking, you ain't my wife. My wife don't talk to me like that, you know. And so when we had our last counseling, they tried to talk to her about these things. And I felt like counseling ain't nothing but her telling on me and me telling on her. It's like we going to somebody trying to play daddy and we telling on each other and we're getting nowhere because we ain't nobody gonna spank us into submission and make us walk and act right, okay? So, in closing, getting back to the story about the guy in the Philippines who had to give up his girlfriend because, like me, he had, of course he was fornicating with her too, but he was fornicating with another man's wife. And he felt very, very, against his religion on that. He also felt that because there's no divorce, her husband can walk in any time, and he did. He contacted him and told him, I'm taking you to court. I'm threatening you. I'm taking you to court about my wife. And she was upset because she knows. Now, here, he had to break up with her. And every man that she tries to hook up with, he's not with her, but every man that she hooks up with, he's going to interrupt. Even though he don't want to be with her. He doesn't want to come back and reconcile with her. He just wants to keep her from being with somebody else. And nobody can be with her legally because there's no divorce in the Philippines. So there you have it. And so now they're talking about in the near future. They just recently started, right now as I speak, they're working on child support. And I'm telling you, Filipino women, the Philippines is about to get poor because, the country's third world enough, and then, everybody's sleeping with each other, and then you're going to sit there and say they can't get divorced? Everybody owes a debt to each other, and this is why I say marriage and divorce go together. Yes, marriage is forever. But if, you know what I'm saying, if a Christian in the church decides to go awry, what does Paul say? Let him leave, let him depart. Okay? That the church may still be edified, that the church may still be pure and under subjection. Let the evil one depart. Okay? And you say, well, there's always a chance of reconciliation. It depends. You come in there putting your hands on, you come in there doing something sexual or trying to do something with another man's wife or putting your hands on another man's wife or getting into a fight in the church or something like that. No, you're not invited to come back. Even though they forgive you, you're not invited to come back ever. They're not going to go through that again. Okay? Just like my stepdaughter's boyfriend. He's not invited to come back to the church. Okay? He's coming in there quenching the spirit with his violent attitude. Okay? Trying to, lecture her and make her feel guilty when he's the one to put her in the hospital. Okay? No, get out. And, now they might let him in now because neither me or my stepdaughter go to that church anymore. But my pastor knows if I walk in here and see him, don't go near my stepdaughter. Because we're going to be back to phrase 1 and you're going to be back in jail again. Because the minute you come talking at, you're just going to come and take authority over her. You're not married to her. You never ever had any intention on marrying her. You're not going to come in and come in her house just because you got kids by her and try to run her house. No, you're not her husband. And you've been away, you've been in prison, you ain't been a father to these kids. You're not coming here taking authority. Okay, you better go start you a life and get custody rights to see your kids or to spend time with your kids, but you're not going to walk in her house and take control like you did before over and over again. I'm not going to have that. But at the same time, none of us want to get a divorce, but you cannot tell people in the church, don't never do, you can't sit there and say, does your spouse cheat on you? No, but your spouse beats on you. The spouse flirts with other women. The spouse, watches stuff. Your spouse is watching porn, and you upstairs trying to keep it hot for him. He down on the couch masturbating. Okay, you don't have a positive marriage. How unpositive does your marriage need to be before you say, it's okay, I can live with this? I know people who decide to wait till they got married to decide that God is calling them to be a missionary. No, he's not. God's not calling you to be a missionary, sir. God is calling you to minister to your wife. You're going to leave your wife alone at home to do missions? That's not the spirit of our God. You got married to her, okay, to be with her. That is your first and foremost ministry. If she's not going to be a missionary with you, then you are not called to be a missionary. If you was called to be a missionary, God would call both of y'all to be a missionary couple. Which if God called me and my woman to be a missionary couple, I'd have to be like Jonah and take a vacation or something and take her somewhere else in America for vacation. We're not going to Africa. We're not going to Sudan or one of them Asian, third world Asian countries where they shooting and killing and raping, and no. Not taking my wife there. Okay? I didn't marry her for that. Okay? I didn't marry her to be under attack like that. I'd stay single if I felt like, I might end up seeing some woman get raped or assaulted in the name of Christian persecution. She ain't going to be my wife. My wife can stay home in the West where she's safe. Okay? But at the same time, she wouldn't have to stay home in the West where she's safe. And neither would I be a missionary, because if I get married, that's my ministry. I'm there to be with my wife. I'm not there to leave her for weeks at a time while I go missionary in another country. I don't believe in that garbage. And I don't believe that God calls anybody to do that. And I believe that whatever your ministry is, your wife has to be supportive of it. If she's not supportive of it, what are you doing that she cannot be supportive of it? And don't get me wrong, I see a lot of these pastors getting up on stage, yelling and being arrogant, and they're yelling and screaming at people in the church, and they're getting online, and people coming to the church trying to give them a piece of their mind and all like that. And the wives are sitting there going, that's a man thing. And I understand that. A woman can love you and separate your stupidity from the other stuff you do that's perfect. Like if you're a pastor, and like Geno Jennings, I'm pretty sure his lovely wife don't support everything he does, but she would never support another man or let another man know that she agrees with him over her husband, in front of her husband, or behind his back. Because you just don't do that. That would be disloyal. And in me, and the way I'm thinking, that's grounds for divorce. You don't ever do that to your husband. You don't ever put another man in his face, over his head. You never take another man's side. Unless your husband just out of nowhere wants to go and shoot the man because, he punched your husband in the face and your husband healed up, but he still wants to kill him. Yeah, you might take that guy's side and say, call the cops on my husband because he's about to kill somebody. But if a man is your friend or your brother or your dad, he does not come before your husband. Your husband always comes first. It's the same way with my mother, my sister, my ex-wife, cousins, you name it. No woman comes before my wife. If my wife is in an argument with another woman, yeah, I'm going to step in and make sure she don't hit nobody. Okay? But as far as what they're talking about, I'm going to stay out of it, and I'm going to just try to pull my wife, like, let it go. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to say, hey, you know what? She's right. You know, she's right. Even though I know she's right, I'm not going to say that, though. You know what I'm saying? Because that would be disloyal, which, again, I think that word unfaithfulness, New King James, is a big word. And that is grounds for divorce. No one has to sit there and wait for a record of proof. Oh, well, you know, I finally caught him in a dark room and I had to get out my flashlight and my camera. No, you saw them coming out of the room together. Ain't nobody in there but them. What were they doing in there together? Just being in that room together alone. When you know that she knows you're suspicious of her cheating. For her to be in there with him is grounds for divorce, if I wish it so. Because if she doesn't decide tonight to never do this again, to never make me concerned about whether she's cheating or not, okay, I shouldn't have to worry. I shouldn't have to be out there trying to catch my wife cheating on me. I should know my wife well enough to know she loves me so much. Cheating is the last thing on her mind. But if I already don't trust her because she says things and does things, and when we go out, she wants to hang out with my friends instead of me, and I'm not allowed to disagree with my friends about nothing, or she's always going to take their side and all like that. I know women who cook for other men and give it to their husband and give it to him. You cook something for one of my friends and say, hey, take this to work. No, you're going to take it to work, and then you're going to go home and pack your stuff and get out my house. Okay? That's how that works. That's how that works. That's how that works. You don't ask me. You don't cook for my friend, my pastor, maybe my dad. My brother? No. My cousin? No. Maybe if you're cooking for everybody at a picnic and you want everybody to taste your sweet potato pie or your you know, sprinkled chicken or whatever, your barbecue chicken or whatever, okay, that's fine. But go out of your way. I know a guy who come to me and says, I don't know what it is, but my wife just loves cooking for my boss. I'm thinking you better look around and make sure she ain't loving going down on him too. What do you mean she loves cooking for your boss? What about the rest of us? I probably like her cooking too. How come I ain't getting none? I'm sitting here with you every day, working 8 hours with you. How come she ain't fixing me a plate? Your wife got a thing for your boss, man, and you're getting all depressed about it, but you're a little bit too old for her to do anything about it right now. All you have is that. It's not like you got a big, you know, it's not like you're going to, you know, please her in bed that well at your age. All you have left is her being faithful to you and respecting you as her one and only. Okay? Dealer Cruz, your life applications officer. Don't let the church tell you how to get married and how to get divorced. Okay? It's between you and the Lord. And I'm saying that because God never destroyed the law of Moses. Jesus fulfilled the law of Moses by adding that you should wait till you feel that your wife is unfaithful in some kind of way before you contemplate divorce. Divorce, you know, God hates divorce. We should too. Marriage is forever, and we should treat it like it's forever. But sometimes your spouse ain't a forever spouse. Sometimes you ain't helping your spouse by staying with her. You need to let her go. Okay? You're not ready. When you gonna be ready? Why leave her suffering, especially when you're, you know, a young couple, you know, and you're in your 30s, you know, Why make her suffer? Why leave her to suffer? Why wait for her to cheat on you? Do we need to wait on somebody to cheat on us when we already know the marriage is in divorce mode? I don't think so. If you feel that you don't trust your spouse, or you feel that you want to cheat on your spouse, you better either nip that with God and Jesus, or you better be prepared to bail out. And that doesn't mean bail out and just go hurry up and hook up with somebody else. That means bail out, okay, and wait on God to bless you and approve of you getting married again. Let me repeat that. That doesn't mean just bail out and go hook up with the first thing you can all over again. Like my ex did, have a boyfriend the day after we got divorced. No, that means you're a Christian. You break up and you pray for God as to whether God is going to help you reconcile with your spouse or marry somebody else. Remarry somebody else. Okay? That's the way that's done. And you don't just go out there and hook up with somebody like that. You spend maybe years of being single after you divorced. And I believe God honors your sincerity if you ruin your marriage. At least show that you had feelings for that person. At least show that you missed that person. At least show that you didn't just move on and pass him on to the next. You know what I'm saying? Like, show that you were trying your best to love this person till the end, because you understand what marriage is, and you understand God hates divorce. But God did not get rid of divorce. He just fulfilled it and fulfilled what marriage is all about. God bless you, dear Recruiter Life Applications Officer. I'm going to try to put this on 2 channels. Thank you for watching.